Hello and welcome to News Central TV. My name is Mazino Appeal. The top stories this hour. Outrage trails mass killings in Benue and Adamawa states only days after massacre in Bassa, Plateau State. And former Kaduna State Governor Nasir El-Rufai accuses President Bola Tinubu of running the most corrupt, intolerant government ever in Nigeria. Also coming up, Amnesty International accuses Mozambican police of killing nearly 400 people during crackdown on opposition protests over disputed elections. Welcome again. Now we begin in the North Central, where a wave of killings appears to be spreading beyond Plateau State into neighboring Benue. Suspected herdsmen are believed to have launched a fresh attack on Otobi community in the Akpa district of Otukpo local government area of Benue State on Tuesday evening. At the moment, several lives have been lost while hundreds of persons are displaced. The lawmaker representing Otukpo Akpa constituency in the Benue State House of Assembly, Kennedy Ongbo, confirmed the attack, which he said began around 5:30 p.m. on Tuesday. Ongbo disclosed that three corpses had already been recovered, with many more people feared dead. This came hours after similar attacks in Gialua village in Gwe West local government area, resulting in the displacement of numerous residents. And still on rising terrorism, Boko Haram insurgents have unleashed terror on the quiet communities of Banga and La in Hong local government area of Adamawa State, killing at least 6 people, with 1 person missing and significant destruction. Among the casualties was a local vigilante who died after a bomb exploded during an attempt to secure the area. In Banga, 2 men were shot dead and a woman reportedly died after falling during the chaos, while in nearby La, 2 more individuals were also killed under yet unclear circumstances. The assault also saw a police van from Garaha blown up by an improvised explosive device. Fortunately, all occupants had exited the vehicle moments before the explosion, narrowly escaping death. The Nigerian military and police have yet to release an official statement, though local sources confirmed that troops responded to the attack. Now, the governor of Plateau State, Caleb Mutfwang, has reassured the people of Plateau State of his determination to ensure adequate safety of both lives and property in Plateau State. The governor was speaking when he paid a condolence visit to the monarch of Irigwe chiefdom and the people of the local government area of Bassa following the Sunday midnight attack on 2 communities of Rike and Kimakba. News Central's Chizoba Anyonwe tells us more.
This was the mood of Irigwe community members, mostly women and children, at the visit of Governor Caleb Mutfwang a few days after the violent attacks that took many lives and left property destroyed in their community. Governor Mutfwang came with security chiefs in Plateau State and the State Executive Council to commiserate with the people of the community.
The whole nation is mourning with you. The international community is mourning with you. That's why you can see here today, government machinery has been halted. And we are here not only with the State Executive Council, but the State Security Council is also here because we share your pain. We have made investments in security, but like all human arrangements, sometimes they fail.
He assured of the provision of necessary security measures to ensure a more secure Plateau State as a whole.
We are going to make sure that we provide all the necessary surveillance that we need to provide. But let me remind you that whatever arrangements the security agencies do, that is only part of the solution. The solution must come from the community. We have come to a point in time in Nigeria where every community must make arrangement to defend itself. That is it. There is no shying away from this. And let me assure you that I will never encourage lawlessness.
The royal father of Irigwe Chiefdom regretted that the drone earlier sighted in their community isn't functional. He expressed hope that things will change for the better.
We are going to abide by the law of this country. We don't want to take to revenge. We don't want to go and fight anybody. This is a place where God has planted us. So, you are talking to our youth. I always challenge them to rise up and defend and control and see that our community lives in peace.
While the visit of the governor is assuring, what will be more reassuring for the people of these communities is for adequate machinery to be put in place to ensure better and lasting security for them. In Basa local government area of Plateau State for News Central, Chizoba and Nyoe.
Now, northern Nigeria's traditional leaders have called for the institutionalization of community-based security systems and the integration of modern technology to combat growing insecurity in the region. Speaking at the 7th Executive Committee meeting of the Northern Traditional Rulers Council in Maiduguri, the Sultan of Sokoto, His Eminence Muhammadu Sa'ad Abubakar III, the Shehu of Borno, emphasized the urgent need for local solutions backed by digital innovation. News Central's Umaru Kirawa completes the report.
From the seat of the Caliphate, Sokoto, to Zamfara and Katsina, stretching to Jos and Borno State, one major concern now in northern Nigeria is the killings across the length and breadth of the region. Traditional leaders of the northern region converged in Maiduguri to brainstorm, cross-fertilize ideas, and identify solutions.
If we want to resolve the problems in the north as leaders, we can do so. How? We sit together and discuss and take issues up one by one and say, this is what we are going to do. From the governors to the traditional institutions to the ulama to the common man on the street, what he should do to help the security agencies, the governorship, the political leadership, and us to bring to the BRS million this clearance.
The Nigerian governors will work with the National Assembly to ensure that the role of the traditional rulers is captured in the Nigerian Constitution. I want to assure you that Borno, under my leadership, will inshallah ensure the insurgency ends before I leave office.
The meeting themed enhanced security for stability and development in the north, so traditional leaders discussed the role of traditional institutions in fostering peace, particularly amidst insurgency, banditry, and farmer-herder conflicts.
Traditional rulers from the level of Miangwa, Argo, Dakachi, Hakimi, etc. must know your citizens. So KYC is know your citizens. That is my appeal to traditional rulers.
It is therefore essential that we continue to build on these successes while remaining vigilant against forces that threaten our collective peace.
All hands must be on deck to bring out solutions to these problems. And whenever we bring such solutions to the political leaders, let them know we are only helping them. We are not, we will never be in contention with the political leadership of the various governors and whatever.
The traditional leaders also called for a bill on the reinstatement of the roles of the traditional leaders to be enshrined in the Constitution of Nigeria, as well as bill of the National Council of Traditional Leaders of Nigeria also formed part of their deliberations. In Maiduguri for News Central, Umaru Kirawa.
The presidential candidate of the Labour Party, the LP, in the 2023 elections, Peter Obi, has asked President Bola Tinubu to immediately return home to confront rising insecurity. In a post on his X page on Wednesday, Obi asked the president to suspend his France retreat amidst the worsening insecurity back home. He said repeated pipeline explosions in the Niger Delta are signs of a nation in distress. The former Anambra governor described Tinubu as a retreating president and said the nation is facing a wave of violent crimes without visible leadership. During Tinubu's stay in France, there has been a surge in killings and abductions by gunmen in several parts of the country, notably in Plateau, Benue, and Adamo estates. And former governor of Kaduna, Nasir El-Rufai, says the President Bola Tinubu administration is the worst and most corrupt in Nigeria's history. El-Rufai spoke in Katsina during an interview with journalists. He also describes the government as the most intolerant since Nigeria returned to civil rule in 1999. He accused the federal government of spreading falsehoods about the country's security situation. El-Rufai and security said insecurity persists in many parts of the country because the federal government has failed to address the root causes of the crisis. He added that the Social Democratic Party, the SDP, will wrest power from the All Progressives Congress in the 2027 general elections. Now joining us from Lagos is Alistair Wilcox, a public policy analyst. Mr. Wilcox, you're welcome. Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon.
Thank you for having me. It's my pleasure. Thank you.
Great. So El-Rufai here is very categorical in saying what he said. Do you think he is singling out Tinubu for the blame game because he's out of the government, or is he posing a genuine case here?
Nigerian politicians behave like children, and it's rather sad that El-Rufai, a respected, somebody that is highly respected from, by a lot of admirers, should come to the level of this kind of childish disposition to issues. El-Rufai have a right to be very angry. I'm one of those that sympathize with El-Rufai being angry with how he was treated by this government. But as a mature politician that he is supposed to be, I don't think El-Rufai should come to this level of frivolities in order to win points. El-Rufai is one of the architects of this government. El-Rufai will be angry because this government that he fought so hard, take his life, take his dignity, take everything. I mean, fought his colleagues in the north to bring to power. Well, treated him the way they do it. I mean, I don't know the politicians. I don't know what is wrong with politicians. He was treated so badly, so he has the right to be angry. But in being angry, you don't descend like becoming children, behaving like children, or those that can be first called, those that be operating the motor parks and begin to throw tantrums that has no validity. You know, yes, things are bad, but when El-Rufai, what are his comparative data and analysis? El-Rufai has been fortunate to serve in the President Bola government, and I think that was one government that Nigerians could look back and said it's a really highly corrupt government, and set some of the foundations for the corruption that is witnessing today. It was said by that government, and El-Rufai served in that government.
Now, Mr. Wilcox.
El-Rufai served as Kaduna State government.
Mr. Wilcox, I've got a question for you. How have all the governments since independence appeared to be worse than the one that they met? Because there's a problem here, because the figures, exchange rate, corruption, unemployment, they all keep going south. So what exactly is the problem?
Yeah, that's why I said El-Rufai behaving like a child, and is a very intelligent man. Second, he has been in politics for long, so he should know that dynamics of issues. And he should know that he served at 8 years. If you're talking about insecurity, I think he's one of the people that spent a majority of the time confronting insecurity in his domain. He spent his 8 years fighting the war on insecurity in Kaduna State. That Kaduna State is still as it is today is because El-Rufai deploy a lot of resources to fight insecurity. So I don't know how this government become the worst when he was one that fought it when he was governor and in the last administrations. So he discovered that yes, things are dynamic. Things are very dynamic. Every year we think the previous one was better. That is the human nature. Every year we always say the previous one was better. Today people are singing the praise of Muhammadu Buhari. Why? because they felt when Buhari came, everything was worse than it should have been. Now Tinubu came, and then when they singing the praise of Buhari and say, "Well, Buhari was better. Let's go back to Buhari." So that is just the human Nigerian nature.
Okay,
And it's work, and it's everywhere.
So playing
just
devil's
imagine what happened in
advocate.
America.
So playing devil's advocate, and with everything that's happening in Nigeria here, with insecurity and all, do you think the president should be back at this point, just like El-Rufai had requested?
No, of course, that is not a debatable issue. One would see, unfortunately, in Nigeria, we've had presidents that we've had a culture where people just go ahead and feel at ease in the face of daunting challenges. You know, I remember when Obama came to power in America, what did he say? He said, roll up your sleeves, let's go to work. And you've seen him every time his sleeves are rolled up and he's working. Trump came into office, he has his agenda, good or bad. You see him every day working on those agendas, trying to see how he can pass, because time is of essence. Now, in Nigeria, you find that government officials, governments over the years, in, out, the one that comes, the one that goes, is the same thing, lackadaisically addressing issues. I mean, how can the president be out of the country on a retreat? He has the right to his annual vacation. And when he's out, his vice should be seen to be up and doing. So you don't carry executive power that you're supposed to use on your day-to-day office, take it away, go to your retreat, which you have a right to your annual leave or whatever, and then you hold the powers there, and the country seems to be drifting. I mean, how do we get to this level? I'm used to military. I mean, I grew up doing military, and I know that that's what they call action.
All right, Mr.
In
Wilcox.
every situation. But for democracy,
I would like us to do something here. Let's take away the personality that has made these claims, and that's the personality of El-Rufai himself. Let's take a look at the fact that he has told that this present administration is the most corrupt and intolerant administration that Nigeria has seen since its return to civil rule. Are these claims, how credible are these claims? Do they hold water? Would you agree with him on what he said regarding corruption and intolerance?
I would totally disagree. I would totally disagree with El-Rufai on this. I'm not a fan of El-Rufai, but I am a supporter of El-Rufai based on how he was treated by this government, because I know what the effort he made to bring the government to power. So in that case, in the interest of justice, I am aligning with him in terms of how he was treated, and it was terribly bad the way he was treated, whatever may be the issues. But for his claim that this government is the most corrupt and most tolerant, I think is totally false. In terms of this government, one can see, yes, the pains are there, but there are a lot of economic reforms. I have not seen the balance sheet of the government. I've not seen the balance sheet, but if we're talking about financial corruption, I don't think this government can be tagged as the worst in the history of Nigeria. Then what we talk about Shehu Shagari government, what we talk about Babangida government, what we talk about Abacha government, I mean, and even the Obasanjo government that El-Rufai served, we know what happens, how money was being brought to the National Assembly to impeach the speaker. We know those that happen. Now, this government has a lot of issues. And what is now going to mar this president's characteristics is what is happening in Rivers State. You see, corruption can be either financial or non-financial. Now, we are seeing judicial corruption in its crude form. Judicial corruption in its crude form. Political corruption in its crude form. So, in that case, that is, if El-Rufai would tell me in that light, I will lay some credence to what he's saying. But talking about the most corrupt in the history of Nigeria, go back to Shehu Shagari's government, and then come back and tell. If you're talking about quantum, it's the same thing. Go back then and come back and tell me. How corruption was working on his bare foot on the streets of Nigeria during that government. And again, Babangida's government will be able to situate issues rightly.
Alester, if I had a time machine, I'd do that. But thank you very much, Mr. Alester Wilcox, for giving us your opinion on the matter. Thank you. Now we're going on a short break, and when we come back, we'll bring you the story of Chinedu Eze, who has regained his freedom after wrongfully spending 14 years behind bars. Hey, welcome back. Now, news just reaching us says the House of Representatives Ad Hoc Committee on Rivers State Oversight has invited the state's sole administrator, Vice Admiral Ibok Ete Ibas, retired, for an interactive session slated for Thursday, April 17th, 2025. Now, this move comes in the wake of the declaration of a state of emergency in Rivers State and forms part of the House legislative effort to closely monitor the unfolding situation. The committee, chaired by House Leader Professor Julius Igboweber, was constituted on Tuesday, April 15th, 2025, by Speaker Retired Honorable Abbas Tajuddin. During its inaugural meeting held at the National Assembly complex, members examined preliminary reports and also discussed the evolving political and security landscape in the state. News Central's Idong Joseph is monitoring the story and will give us updates subsequently. Now to the environment. Now, environmental experts and humanitarian organizations working in Borno State are calling for a shift from reactive aid to proactive climate adaptation in response to the recurring floods that have devastated the region. Now, this call was made during a post-flood reflection and risk mitigation planning session in the state. News Central's Umaru Kirawa here has the report.
The painful memory of 10 September 2025 still lingers, a day when floods ravaged Maiduguri, Jere, and several other communities across Borno State. According to the 2025 Annual Flood Outlook by the Nigerian Hydrological Services Agency, Borno remains one of the states at high risk of severe flooding.
We are here actually for a post-flood reflection and also a dialogue. This program is actually organized so that people that have experienced the recent flooding in Maiduguri can sit, learn from experiences, and also develop plans to mitigate future occurrences.
Experts express the importance of including displaced persons and women in the flood risk mitigation plan to ensure fairness and long-term sustainability in recovery efforts.
State Emergency Management Agency may not be everywhere in the state, but young people are everywhere. If young people support them with perhaps information, among others, the service delivery will be very effective. As well as one of the challenges we have identified in the course of the engagement was that there's duplication of projects during the flood support.
Kalandi rochiski anima buron katabdo gonyen futu gulzana de njololon jinde la ya sayo zawol jela fatola gartu koltuso awala masu adishima do katabdo brosala ke gonyen mare ko hawari kurman katabdo gonye ya sandana mambema na do asalin jido ishinda chisti gullena brosala kin ka ugana sidia na da 3 to gullena.
Recommendations put forth include early and consistent desilting of waterways and the relocation of communities in vulnerable areas.
What we are going to have in this kind of mitigation plan is to see how these young people can bring solution to all of these problems, how they can design sensitization and awareness creation that can shape the communities in such a way that even when we have flood, it can be a splash flood that can have drainages that it can pass and many more. So these are the kind of things that we should expect, and also informing and influencing policies of government.
With the lessons learned and challenges clearly identified, stakeholders now say that the collaborative implementation of the mitigation plan is essential to prevent unforeseen disasters that could further endanger lives and property. In Maiduguri for News Central, Umaru Kirawa.
Rainy season in the Federal Capital Territory brings an end to the telling heat wave brought about by the peak of the dry season. Now, while the rains bring much needed relief from the scorching heat, they also present a unique set of challenges for residents, ushering threats of several disease outbreaks. In this report, News Central's Aishat Salihu assesses the level of awareness on the increased risk of certain forms of bacteria infections and also waterborne diseases.
According to predictions from the Nigerian Meteorological Agency, the nation will experience significant rainfall at the beginning of 2025. This rainfall, brought by the rainy season, commences at different months for different states of the country. For start, The rainy season usually starts in late March or early April and ends in October or November. While it brings its own set of challenges, mainly health-related, diseases such as cholera and others becomes more rampant, and there are concerns about scaling up awareness and implementation of measures to curb these diseases.
Apart from waterborne diseases, you could also have vector-borne diseases, basically as a result of increase in the proliferation and in the multiplication of the vector. In this case, mosquito is very, very prominent, and as we all know, mosquito increases or is a major vector for malaria.
For residents in the FCT, some say they have begun taking into cognizance the need to keep safe in order to avoid severe cases of illnesses leading to hospitalization.
For us as a family, we don't diseases that come with rainy seasons, usually malaria because of mosquitoes. We have poor drainage and mostly use nets, which were gotten from government. But we also make sure our windows have nets, and then we are cautious of closing doors, mostly in the evenings and early mornings.
And make sure to do everything possible for me to prevent running nose during the rainy season. Number one, for not exposing my body. I put on thick clothes. I stay away from fan and AC. So I'm good to go.
Although access to clean water and sanitation becomes a major concern during the rainy season, many residents in the FCT rely on boreholes and wells, which can become contaminated with groundwater runoff. Experts suggest the way forward for vulnerable families throughout the rainy season.
To a large extent, even some practices that may encourage the transmission of waterborne diseases like open defecation, indiscriminate disposal of waste, which may contaminate drinking water sources and lead to cholera, typhoid, E. coli, or any of the other waterborne diseases are typically needs to be addressed.
Now, the way forward for FCT residents to mitigate the challenges posed by the rainy season is through a collective effort. This includes proper hygiene practices, improved waste disposal, and also community-based initiatives to improve sanitation and drainage systems. In the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, for News Central, Aishat Salihu.
A rainstorm has wreaked havoc in Woton and Ubokodo communities of Okwe local government area of Delta State. Residents of the community were seen on Tuesday evening in viral videos and pictures wailing after the rainstorm destroyed property worth millions of naira. According to them, the storm rained ice cubes, leading residents to wonder how possible could it be during the hot weather. As eyewitnesses said, we saw ice blocks falling from the sky during the torrential rainfall earlier today. This is unexplainable as it happened in the midst of severe heat. Nigeria has cut electricity sale to junta-ruled Niger Republic to 46 megawatts from 80 megawatts. The cuts represent a 42% reduction in power supply to the country. Niger's Energy Minister, Hoa Amadou, says the measures has led the country's electricity production to fall by 30 to 50% and forced state-owned power company Nigelec to impose planned power cuts that can last several days, especially in Niamey. Back home, Nigeria is battling its own power crisis. The country generates just over 5,000 megawatts, far below the 30,000 needed due to gas shortages and infrastructure decay. Now, power generation companies warn of imminent shutdown over unpaid debt exceeding 4 trillion naira. Meanwhile, Nigeria Power Minister Adebayo Adelabu has pledged action, with the Finance Ministry stepping in to resolve the crisis and prevent a total grid collapse. Now, there's a growing environmental crisis of plastic pollution and its devastating impact on marine life along Nigeria's coastal waters. Here, News Central's correspondent Bettina Nweli looks into how plastic waste is infiltrating our oceans, endangering marine life, and species and disrupting food chains, also while threatening the livelihoods of coastal communities.
To Island, reports show that plastic pollution is a significant concern. Plastic waste is flooding our oceans at an alarming rate, threatening the delicate balance of marine environments. According to The Punch, the maritime sector incurs annual losses exceeding 5 billion naira due to marine environmental hazards caused by plastic waste. These hazards include the death of aquatic animals and disruptions to fishing activities, which are vital to local economies.
When we went to fishing, I normally help one man to carry his bag as a learner. So then I can see, can catch, so I come more than 500 pieces, 400 pieces. But now to get common 30 pieces now, you must work maybe morning till night before you can even get some 10, but sometimes you can't even get anything. The reason for the reduction, which I believe on my own as an experienced fisherman, I believe the blockage of the channel from the ocean to the lagoon. Because normally the fishes, they follow the lagoon to the ocean to the lagoon. That way they follow. But there are many places that have been blocked.
The water they change sometimes. Yesterday the water there somehow it be like it not clean. Now crab they chop, so we not go yesterday. Now here we stand yesterday. I come out here around 3-4 o'clock in the morning time because only God give me 2.
Marine creatures are ingesting plastic debris in alarming numbers. Fishes are also consuming tiny plastic particles known as microplastics, which pose a significant risk to the entire food chains. As the plastics break down into smaller particles, they become even harder to remove and continue to poison the ecosystem. The consumption of contaminated seafood can lead to toxins entering the human food chain, putting vulnerable populations at risk.
Unfortunately, the way that we're using plastics is extremely harmful, particularly to marine life. Definitely, consuming fish, in fact, it's blowing big alarms all over the world now, especially in the medical world, because they are seeing microplastics because the plastic breaks down into smaller pieces. And they're seeing microplastics in people's bloodstream. They're seeing microplastics in an unborn baby in the embryo. It has penetrated that far because you're eating creatures that have eaten the plastic and you're absorbing this into your system. But it is a reflection because we've been behaving very irresponsibly.
With limited recycling initiatives and a high consumption of disposable plastics, much of the waste ends up in rivers and eventually the ocean. While the Lagos state government has taken steps to implement bans on single-use plastics, much more work remains.
So we've had cases of saying things like, the plastics, the fish actually swallow the plastics and you come out with it, you cook it, and the plastic is still in there. So it's all about urbanization and increased human activity and how it is affecting the ecosystem, animal life, etc. Beach cleanups are some of the campaigns that we've seen where people go to the beaches and ensure that the beaches are clean. There are dustbins at the beaches, which has been kind of the human effort that we've been making to save, to protect this the life underwater, these fishes from exposure to plastics. So actions like that, actions like bringing a whole lot of value to the production of a single plastic. So when people know that, if I pick up this plastic, I'm going to get a very good financial reward for it, definitely to reduce the cases of we having a situation whereby the plastics find their way into the ocean.
Plastic pollution is indeed a daunting issue for Nigeria's marine environment. It is up to all, governments, industries, communities, and individuals to protect the oceans for future generations. In Lagos, for News Central, Bettina Nwili.
Coming up, Amnesty International calls for probe of reckless crackdown on protests in Mozambique. We'll tell you more after the break. Join us again. Welcome back. Hundreds of Tunisians took to the streets of Mazwana after a school wall collapsed, killing 3 high school students, sparking outrage over government's neglect. Now, protesters blocked roads with burning tires and demanding justice, calling attention to years of underinvestment in inland regions like Mazwana. The tragedy has reignited anger in a town just 70 kilometers from Sidi Bouzid, the cradle of Tunisia's 2011 revolution. Tunisia's powerful UGTT union called a nationwide school strike, condemning authorities for failing to protect students. President Kais Saied pledged urgent maintenance across schools, vowing to prevent similar tragedies, but many say promises aren't enough. Amnesty International has accused Mozambican police of killing nearly 400 people during a violent crackdown on opposition protests following last October's disputed election. In a new report released Wednesday, Amnesty cited eyewitness accounts and open-source data alleging excessive and indiscriminate force by police and military personnel and lack of accountability. The protests erupted after President Daniel Chapo's contested victory, which international observers said was marred by irregularities. Rights groups say at least 388 people were killed over 3 months, with security forces firing metal pellets and live rounds into crowds, even from moving vehicles. One victim, a man live streaming police actions, was reportedly shot in the back. The government has yet to respond as international calls for accountability grow louder. Mauritius' former finance minister Renganadan Padayichi has been arrested on Wednesday in a second fraud case just 2 days after being released on bail in another. Police say the latest charges involve a $1 million payment from Mauritius Investment Corporation to Menlo Parks Limited, a political polling firm. Padayachi, already accused of inflating the value of East Coast Hotel investment costing $6.7 million, now faces fresh questioning. The arrest follows a broader probe involving former central bank governor Harvesh Shigolam, also linked to both cases. The Financial Crimes Commission is leading investigations amid rising concerns about corruption and economic mismanagement. However, Prime Minister Navin Ramgoolam's government elected last year, and his campaign was marked by concerns about the political and economic stability of one of Africa's wealthiest stable democracies. Still ahead, former President Biden condemns Trump's Social Security cuts. Details after the break. Join us then. Welcome back. Former President Joe Biden delivered his first major public speech since leaving office, addressing a conference in Chicago on April 15, 2025. In his remarks, Biden criticized the Trump administration's handling of Social Security, accusing it of endangering benefits for 73 million seniors by implementing staffing cuts and office closures within the Social Security Administration. The speech coincided with a National Social Security Day of Action, during which Democrats organized protests against proposed reductions to the program. While Biden's reemergence has been welcomed by some Democrats, others expressed concern over his return to the public sphere, fearing it could complicate the party's messaging ahead of the 2026 midterm elections. China on Wednesday warned it is not afraid of a trade war with the United States following sharp new tariff imposed by President Donald Trump. Beijing's Foreign Ministry spokesperson Lian Jian urged Washington to stop blackmail and threats and instead engage in talks based on equality and mutual benefits. Trump recently raised tariffs by 145% on Chinese goods targeting illicit drug components like fentanyl and penalizing what he called unfair trade practices. However, tech items like smartphones and laptops received a temporary reprieve. Trump insists the ball is in China's court, pushing Beijing to strike a deal. However, China fired back, saying it didn't start the tariff war and warned again that it is ready, if forced, to fight. Now, Nigeria will create a national strategic petroleum products stockpile this year to guard against global supply shocks, the Nigerian midstream and downstream petroleum regulatory authority announced. The reserve, mandated by the petroleum industry law, will be significantly larger than the current 30-day supply buffer. It aims to ensure fuel availability amid market disruptions. The move aligns with Nigeria's expanding local refining capacity, driven by the Dangote refinery and other plants, which have already cut gasoline imports from 50.8 to 28.7 million liters per day. Officials believe this could ultimately eliminate dependency on imported fuel. Kwara United and Nasarawa United have both advanced to the quarterfinal of the 2025 Presidential Federation Cup. In Benin City, Kwara United dominated National League side Solution FC with a commanding 3-0 win. Goals from Junior Amufua, Kabiru Mohammed and also Ismaila Geta sealed the victory at the Samuel Ugbemudia Stadium. Meanwhile, in Ayimba, Nasarawa United edged past Bayelsa United 5-3 on penalties after a 1-1 draw in regulation time. Anas Yusuf opened the scoring for Nasarawa in the 49th minute, but Yahya Ibrahim equalized in the 61st minute for Bayelsa. Nasarawa held firm in the shootout to clinch their quarterfinal spot in the prestigious national competition. And Gabonese international footballer Aaron Bupenza has died at the age of 28 after reportedly falling from a building in China. The forward had joined Chinese club Xinjiang FC just this January from Romania's Rapid Bucharest. Bupenza earned 35 caps for Gabon and represented his country at the 2021 Africa Cup of Nations. Gabon's Football Federation announced his death on social media, remembering him as a great striker who made his mark during the Africa tournament. His career spanned multiple countries, including France, Portugal, Turkey, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and the United States. Gabon's president-elect called Bupenza a talented centre-forward who brought honor to Gabonese football. And that's all this hour. But before we go, let's take another look at some of the stories that we brought your way. We told you that many feared dead and hundreds more displaced as fresh attacks by suspected herdsmen hit Benue communities. And Niger to experience blackouts as Nigeria cuts electricity sale to its junta-led neighbor by 42%. And we also told you Amnesty International accuses Mozambican police of killing nearly 400 people during crackdown on opposition protests over disputed elections. Remember, you may send your eyewitness reports to the WhatsApp number on your screens now. And do follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. You can watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, GoTV channel 23, Star Times channel 274, Able TV, and of course on YouTube. Many thanks for watching. My name is Mazino Appeal.